Good morning. I'm Susan Wines, and it is my privilege to serve as a co-warden here at St. Andrews. I also serve this year as chair of the Stewardship Committee, and this is the first Sunday of our 2025 Stewardship campaign. So I offer a homily and some details after that about our campaign this year. I'd like to start with a question for you all, and that is, if you had to set this morning's gospel to music, specifically a song from the rock band AC/DC, which song would you choose? While you ponder that, I'll give you mine. I'd choose Thunderstruck. Not for the lyrics, but for that sound. Angus Young's rapid, relentless electric guitar riff, and Brian Johnson's gritty, growling vocals. That sound rolls in like thunder and just might underscore the moment the Samaritan leper realized he had been healed. Completely undone, awestruck and amazed. But there were 10 lepers who called out to Jesus that day, and there were 10 who were healed. And it is Jesus who you hear ask the piercing question, was no one found to return to give praise to God except this foreigner? This foreigner may sound harsh to our ears. Indeed, it is discriminating. Yet naming the Samaritan's foreignness may be invitation for us to step into the Samaritan's skin, to imagine this healing through the eyes of someone who has always been an outcast. So, I invite you to pause for just a moment, take a deep breath, picture yourself on the outskirts of society, in the rocky hills between Galilee to the north and Samaria to the south, nearly 2,000 years ago. And imagine this. I was born a Samaritan, and that forever marked me as an outsider. When Assyrian armies swept into the northern kingdom of Israel, many Israelites were taken away or left one way or another. In time, the Assyrians intermarried with those who remained, and from that history of conquest and upheaval, my people were born. The Jews they despised us, called us half-breeds and heretics, people who worshiped in the wrong way, at the wrong temple, on the wrong mountain. So we stayed mostly in our own village. And at home, life was okay. It was just my mother and me. We didn't have much, but we had each other. We had our own prayers, and we had our own people. But then my skin betrayed me. White patches appeared first on my hands, then they spread all down my arms, up my legs. They itched terribly at first, and then they began to burn. My mother helped me hide them for a time under my clothing, but when they reached my face, there was no hiding anymore. I was 17 when the priest declared me unclean. That meant banishment from my home, separation from my mother forever. I will never forget the day I left. I watched my mother weep silently as I started to walk away. Then I heard her wailing and pleading for them to let me come back. But no one turns back from this. I wandered alone until I found the nine Jews who wouldn't have let me walk beside them when we were all well, but they too had been declared unclean. So I became the 10th. Even among them, I was the lowest. The 9 sometimes took food from me. Sometimes they mocked me, asking me if I were a fierce Assyrian warrior, laughing because they knew that I wasn't. Still, it was better than being alone. I later heard that my mother had died. I would have loved to have seen her again, though I'm grateful she never saw me like this. My hands are curled, my back is bent, my feet drag as I walk, and the sores no longer hurt because my skin has gone completely numb. No one sees me anymore. When people look my way, it's with disgust, pity, and fear. Most simply turn the other way. But then one day, on the outskirts of Samaria, we saw him about to enter the village. Jesus of Nazareth. We had all heard the stories. He gives sight to the blind. He gives hope to the hopeless. But he was already entering the village and we couldn't follow him in there. So we stayed at a distance and called out, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." Jesus turned back. He saw we had the sores. He saw our stooped, mangled bodies, but he didn't turn away. He looked at me. He held my gaze. No disgust, no judgment, no fear. It's really hard to explain, but it felt like a look of knowing, as if somehow he'd been expecting me all along, as if he were waiting for me. He said, "Go show yourself to the priests." And I thought, "Lord, please, not that." The priests cast me out. There's nothing for me at the temple. Still, I started to walk. And as I did, something changed. I looked down at my fingers and hands, and they were straight. The sores were gone. My flesh was whole. I hadn't even noticed the 9 had run off, back to their families, back to their homes. I couldn't blame them, but I couldn't just run off. Jesus had healed me. He saw me. I didn't deserve such grace, but I got it anyhow, no questions asked. I fell at his feet. I think I was crying and laughing all at once, thanking him over and over. And he told me, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." And I am very well, indeed. I am a Samaritan. The world may still call me an outcast, but I am a child of God. And I will always turn back to worship the Lord. Now, having immersed ourselves in the story of the Samaritan leper, I must tell you this. For as much as I want to be thunderstruck and feel the clarity of the Samaritan's gratitude, that conversion, many days I'm more like the 9, taking the gifts I've been given and running. So when Jesus asks, "Were not 10 cleansed? Where are the 9?" Many days I would have to raise my hand and answer, "Here, Lord." So it seems that this healing story is just as much about the 9 as it is about the one who turned back. As much as Thunderstruck inspires, our own stories of turning back to Jesus might develop more slowly, more quietly. We may hear our stories in the lush quiet of the pre-dawn hours, or on a trail in the woods with mud and dog slobber on our boots. Those stories may take some time to develop, and that leads back to the 9. The 9 are not failures for missing the chance to turn back to Jesus that day. Any one of them could turn back at any moment, no questions asked, and they too would get that knowing look, the look that says, there you are, I've been expecting you. In that way, the 9 represent a divine promise, open to all of us, an everlasting and irrevocable invitation to turn back to Jesus at any moment, no matter the bad decisions or the paths we wish we'd taken sooner. So today, inspired by the one who turned back and the divine promise of the 9, we step into the first Sunday of our stewardship campaign. Our theme this year is Tell Out My Soul, the Greatness of the Lord, and that marks another thunderstruck moment in the Gospel according to Luke, the moment of Mary's Magnificat in chapter 1, when she bursts into thunderstruck joy upon realizing that she carries the babe who will be the Savior of the world. Mary's words call each of us to tell our own stories of faith. Many of those stories are bound up right here in this place. This little church that looks a little bit like a ski lodge from the outside that welcomed us when we were searching. This little church with the leaky roof and the temperamental air conditioning that waited for us when we needed to take a break. And this little church with that persistent cobweb on that fan blade that stands ready to welcome us back, always, no questions asked. Those are some of the gifts of this place. Stewardship takes many forms, and you will hear about many of those during this campaign. Today, I invite you to consider making a financial pledge, a tangible promise of financial support for the year ahead. Some choose to give without making a pledge. And please know this church is deeply grateful for your generosity. Every loose offering, every spontaneous gift truly matters to a church this size. It is possible, though, that making a pledge in advance and setting a goal to work towards throughout the year may resonate differently by declaring in advance your faith in the future of St. Andrew's, by declaring outright, this is my church, and I pledge now to sustain it as I know it will sustain me. So there's some fine print. There's stewardship packets in the back. These materials include a photo essay that captures much of our shared life. Thank you, Maddie. The packet also details our pledge metrics, the total number of pledgers, the number of pledgers at different levels, and how our pledge base actually compares to our operating expenses. It is no exaggeration to say that these packets have been lovingly prepared by your stewardship committee. Louise Beecher, Liz Chatfield, Lisa King, and of course, Sharia. Thank you for your care, your presence, and your vision. There are 2 ways to fill out a pledge card this year. We're trying something new, offering an online pledge card. You can access it by going onto the website. It's frankly a little hard to avoid if you go onto the website. You can also scan a QR code. It's one of the 2 that are on the back of your bulletin here, along with a Give Now QR code. You certainly may also fill out a hard copy pledge card with pen and ink and drop it in the plate or mail it in. However you choose to pledge, we ask that you turn those in by November 9th because that is the day that we will bless all of our pledges together in worship. November 9th is also our deadline because our treasurer, Mary Potenziani, Bill Downs, and our bookkeeper are preparing next year's budget. And pledges after November 9th may miss that budget cycle, and we want every one of them to count in that budgeting. The last thing you need to know is about that little lighted tree in the narthex. That is our giving tree. It's a way we can see our collective promises for the upcoming year. So once you've turned in a pledge card, we invite you to take a leaf like this. They're hanging out there by the tree. And for our friends who worship by Zoom, please call, text, email, and we'll be glad to place a leaf on the giving tree on your behalf. It just so happens that we have 72 leaves. In Luke's gospel, Jesus sent out 72 disciples to carry his mission into the world, and those 72 returned bursting with joy at what God had done through them. So let's pray for 72 leaves. May each leaf of our giving tree represent a personal story of faith. May each leaf proclaim with thunderstruck joy, "Tell out my soul the greatness of the Lord."